The two rigs I use for catfishing the most throughout the country is the Carolina rig and the three-way rig. Those are two old school rigs that's been around for years. They've proven. You may have to modify them a little bit to suit what you're doing on a particular body of water, but for the most part, those are the two most important rigs as far as I'm concerned in catfishing. I've had a lot of requests for the types of rigs I use. For the most part, I use about 4 different rigs, but today we're going to talk about the 2 rigs I use consistently throughout the United States to catch fish. Now, sometimes I have to modify these 2 rigs, but the first rig is what I'm tying up right now is a Carolina rig, and it consists of of course, we use 65-pound braided fishing line, and I use a no-roll sinker, which is an 8-ounce, and I'll explain the weight of it just a little later. A barrel swivel, and when I'm pulling a drift like I am today, I'm using this. You can use a Carolina rig for setting up, anchoring out behind your boat. I happen to like to use it for drifting. But when I do use it for drifting, I like a short, real short leader line. The leader line is a 50-pound mono, but it just gives me a little bit more control. But now if I'm anchoring up, throwing out behind my boat, I'll use about a 2-foot piece of leader. When I'm pulling a drift, I use, like I say, I use the short leader and I use a heavy sinker. That gives me control. That enables me to put my bait where I want it and keep it where I want it, so it's not, you know, if I have to pull with my trolling motor, the bait is not behind the boat. It stays, because of the heavy weight, it stays right below the boat where I want it. The other rig that I use a lot of, and you can use it for several different purposes too, is the modified 3-way. And you can use it for several different, like I say, I use it in the springtime. I use it for live bait for flatheads. Look at that big old fish. That's what I've been dealing with today. That line straight across is my bait, and that big orange mark is a fish. I've had so many of them come up and look at my bait today and just go that back down. But anyway, the modified 3-way I use a lot of times for bumping, using a hand rod. This happens to be a hand rod and we're going to be bumping. Or I use it for, like in springtime, to set up with live bait for flatheads. But both of these rigs I use consistently throughout the United States on several bodies of water. This one, the modified 3-way, a lot of times guys will put a float between the swivel and the hook to kind of keep it floating in the water. I don't find that the float helps to keep the bait floating in the column as much as it does keeping the 3-way swivel from getting twisted. Okay, any of these rigs can be used and modified the way you want to. The best thing to do is to start from a textbook rig, and if that's not working, then you may need to modify it, lengthen your leader, shorten your leader. Just find out what the fish want. Once you get it, you should be able to fish like that all day. Okay guys, I hope I've answered some of your questions on the rigs I use. Like I say, there's 3 or 4 other rigs that I may use specific to bodies of water throughout the country, but I will get into that in the next video. See ya. Tell me that ain't a nice flathead. Oh, look at here. Look at that, guys. Look what a beast. Look what a beast. I tell you what, this is don't get no better than this.